Silver outperformed gold in 2025 by a huge margin. So now we get to reconsider its place as a long-term hold versus the old champ. Did we get it wrong? We just experienced one of the weirdest and most profitable years that gold and silver have ever had. Gold was up around 67%, silver was up around 150%. You just can't plan for years like that. Now, profit and weirdness aside, the experience of holding gold and silver right now couldn't be more different. Gold is doing exactly what you would hope it would do, maybe expect it would do. Silver, though, the silver surged. And it also gave us 10% daily swings, which means holding silver is psychologically harder than holding gold. So the real question here is, which one is the better long-term hold? Now, we're going to get into that in a minute, but quick shout out to channel sponsor Summit Metals. If you're looking to buy gold and silver, they've got you covered. If you're looking to sell your gold and silver, they can help you there too. SummitMetals.com. Now, silver crushed everything in 2025, gold included, and it's going to have people rethinking some things. Now, that outperformance and why I think 2025 may have just changed silver permanently is going to get its own video. But right now, I want to focus on whether this huge run changes the case for silver as a long-term hold. And maybe more specifically, how it compares to gold, because nothing has changed with gold. The case to hold gold as a long-term asset has only gotten stronger. Now, silver just outperformed it by a wide margin. Does that make it a better hold, or do you still have to deal with the question of what comes next? Now, some people might be fine with silver's volatility. They won't have any anxiety around timing. Others have had past experience with it that maybe weren't nice. Maybe they got punished by holding it. Maybe they missed an exit that would have left them with profit. Now, a person like that might be anxious about it. Now, personally, I'm probably somewhere in between. I have had a bad experience with silver in the past, but the silver that I picked up in 2024 was explicitly meant to be flipped to gold. It had a purpose. But after seeing what it just did in 2025, it's hard to not think that silver deserves a second look. Now, price targets, price ceilings, price floors, those are probably all at the top of the list of what to reconsider. But what hasn't changed, for me at least, is that silver still feels very volatile. It is very volatile. We've seen it give up nearly 10% in intraday trading twice just in the past week. On Wednesday, when the CME raised margin requirements on precious metals, gold fell about 0.1%. Silver fell 5.6. Now, that's not because silver suddenly lost demand. It's just a mechanical event raising the cash requirements for the trade that gold more or less just brushed off. Now, silver didn't like it at all. Now, this is always going to be a matter of scale. If your long-term hold is an important part of your life savings, then volatility naturally is going to bring you more anxiety. Some people will avoid volatility entirely, or at least try to by sticking with fixed return investments that will probably never see these kind of gains to begin with. So what we're looking at here is not what's happening this year or last, it's what's the right approach for holding metals long term. In September and October of 2024, I picked up some physical silver. I also increased my ETF holdings. So that was with the intent to exit the silver and swap to gold at a certain target. Now, my cost on the physical silver was $30 an ounce all in, so that included premiums. And my exit target at the time was $75 an ounce. Now, a few months ago, I decided to change that. I decided I would wait for $80 an ounce, and now I'm not so sure that I'm ready to sell at all. With gold, I have no exit target. I'm not waiting for a price target to get out. I'm not constantly reevaluating. It is truly a long-term hold and a lot harder to get off this wood tray. Now, in 2008, I decided to start using both gold and silver as long-term savings. That was a new thing for me at the time. Since then, I have changed gears on silver. You're probably all aware of that if you've watched any of my videos, but I have not changed my approach on gold. It is and will continue to be a big part of my long-term savings. And we really need to get a chart in here to show why. If you were to look at what happened to the price of both metals from the 2011 tops, silver fell roughly 73%. And then it took 14 years to clear that all-time high again. That felt like a really long time. Now, gold fell around 45%, and it took 9 years to make a new all-time high, so not quite as bad. Now, holding silver would have meant more anxiety, would have meant more regret at times probably, but as of today, it's right back to even with gold. And that is the most important part of what I'm talking about here. Silver fell way harder, and it took a lot more time to recover than gold did. But if you want to cherry pick the other side of this, well, silver is up 4x since 2020, while gold is up closer to 3x. Now, we're in the same place today, but it was a completely different ride to get here. So the answer of which is the better long-term hold really means you're looking at 3 parts here. Which actually performed better? That's 1. Are you okay with volatility? That's 2. And then are you okay ignoring premiums? That's 3. Now, based on where I started, or at least when I got serious in 2013, gold and silver would have been roughly similar in terms of performance. Gold did slightly better. Silver would have had lower spot price while it was accumulating, but it would have had a higher premium. So net, roughly the same. Now, if you jumped in on the 2011 spike, your silver costs would have been much higher than gold. If you started in 2020, your gold cost would be higher than silver. That's as of today. So the difference between the two has been the importance of timing. It's a tortoise and hare situation where silver just took a 14-year nap. And if you exited your silver position at any point during that nap, you would have locked in losses, either actual losses or opportunity cost losses relative to gold. But had you ignored silver entirely, you would have just missed out on this massive sprint over the past few months. Now, fourth part to consider here is scale. $100,000 in gold is 23 ounces. So all I would have to do is add 2 ounces to what you see on screen. That'd be $100,000. Just wild to think about. Now, $100,000 in silver would be 1,400 ounces. So like 35 times what you're seeing on screen here. So dramatically different storage logistics. Now, I held on to that one because it's less about the performance of the metals, but it was one of the reasons that I haven't liked physical silver as a long-term hold. Now, I have liked it as a trade, or at least I do now, and it's easy to say that because I bought again in September of 2024, and it just feels like a rocket ship since then. Now, if I had let the perceived negatives of holding it long-term get me out of it entirely, I think I'd be questioning that logic right now. So after all of that, back to the question of which is the better long-term hold, I don't think the answer is that one is better than the other. I think gold has proven itself as a long-term hold. It doesn't force decisions. It's pretty easy to just let it lie. Silver requires more patience, and it also rewards your attention. Now, for some people, that makes it a really bad fit for long-term savings. For others, it could be exactly what they're going for. Now, I'm currently 80-20 on gold and silver. So 4 times more gold than silver, and that would be low for silver if I looked at it as a long-term hold. I'd be 50-50 if I thought the two were comparable, or if I'd had enough conviction to make a bigger bet on it back in 2024 when I was buying more heavily. But to me, silver still has higher risk and reward considerations, so putting it on par with gold for long-term use, that's a tough call and not one that I'm making personally. I still like it more as a trade. The only question for me is whether I have enough to be happy if I trade out of it again. And I'll just tell you right now, probably not. Now, I won't try to tell anyone what their mix should be. I think it comes down to your volatility expectations. But if 2025 has shown us anything, I think it's don't count silver out. And we're going to call it good there. I would be curious to know what your gold to silver ratio is. If it's changed over the past year, I mean, if you had any, it's changed just from value gains alone, but I'm more curious how you see it as a long-term hold and whether or not that view has changed. Does recent performance make it feel like it's going to be a better hold, or are you already planning a swap? Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.